let's talk about your call then. You're picking the OCR will go up another 50 basis points this year. Is there any other economist publicly agreeing with you yet?
Not yet, not yet. But basically, we think that in November the Reserve Bank sounded a little bit trigger happy. They said they talked about hiking. They published a forecast for the official cash rate that showed 19 points of hiking. A hike is typically 25. So, you know, we think they're pretty close to the line and they just need a nudge rather than a shove. And we've had a nudge in the data, basically. We've had unders and overs, and you can pick and choose if you want to support your case. But on balance, when we weigh it up, we think that capacity is not opening up in the economy as fast as they would have expected. And some of the direct inflation indicators are looking really sticky. They'll be aware this could be a policy mistake, but they'll also be aware that they just can't be sure they've done enough to meet their mandated target.
Yeah, this is the thing. Is a nudge returning to the single mandate?
Well, that at the margin simplifies the comms, certainly. Yeah. I don't actually think it's a meaningful change in how they operate.
Right.
Because it was always clear that the inflation target was the primary goal. But certainly it does simplify the communications around doing what needs to be done.
And if they are going to hike, they don't want to hike just 25, they've got to go 50 to make sure it's worth it.
Well, basically, if you think you're only 25 basis points away from where you need to go, then a very viable alternative is to just hold for longer. But we suspect they passed that point already some months ago. Basically, ever since May last year, when they called a stop to hikes, there's just been a relentless little chipping away at their confidence that that's enough. And you can't point to one piece of data and say, that's the smoking gun, that's why they need to hike again. So we're trying to guess when they're crossing an invisible line. So it's quite reasonable that there are different views on that.
What impact are the fiscal policies of the new government likely to be having on that decision?
Well, basically, the Reserve Bank does not take a punt on what policy is going to be for pretty obvious reasons. So they will just be operating off what we heard in November. So very little impact, I think. That falls into the cross that bridge when you come to it. But obviously we've got a government that wants to cut spending but also cut taxes, and how those two things will actually balance out in terms of net inflationary impact on the economy is really uncertain. But I don't think the Reserve Bank will be assuming the government's going to solve this problem for them, so they should just chill out. They can't do that.